The Resource Department shall consult with the Secretary who made the required determination under Section 202 of this order. Such Secretary shall coordinate with and identify for the Resource Department which program requirements to prioritize on the basis of operational urgency. In situations involving more than one secretary making such a required determination under Section 202, the Secretary shall coordinate with and identify for the Resource Department which program requirements should receive priority on the basis of operational urgency. If agreement cannot be reached between two such secretaries, then the issue shall be referred to the President through the Assistant to the President and National Security Advisor, and to the Assistant to the President for Homeland Security and Counterterrorism. So let me explain to you what this means. This means that if anybody resists this program, then you will be referred to the President, his advisors, and the President for Homeland Security and Counterterrorism. If you resist, you're a terrorist and will be treated as a terrorist. Okay, that's what we're saying here. That's what he's talking about.
You know, all this is just unbelievable, Angie. And you think that with all this stuff that you're reading off, that under what disaster scenario does this take place?
No,
But then
Tim.
I know, I'm getting to that. You realize suddenly that it says in peacetime.
Right.
And so you're like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, you shake your head. Unbelievable.
I mean, I'm just speechless about the degree of treason that's going on here. Let me tell you something. This damn well better result in his impeachment, as well as the revocation of any law that he's put into practice, including this apostasy, and the removal of any of his appointees in the court, cabinet level, you name it. I mean, it's time to clean house. This is enough. This is enough. Listen, we have natural rights. They are not up for a vote. They're not given to us by any government authority, and they cannot be taken from us by any government authority. And if we allow this to happen, we've got no one to blame but ourselves. This is the SHTF situation. It's hitting the fan as we speak. And if we do not resist this, if we do not fight against this, if we do not work to slap these people in irons, then it's going to be hell on earth in this country. Okay, this also goes a little bit further than that. As we read on, you'll see that this expands to other countries as well, in order to ensure the availability of any resources that we need. Unbelievable, unbelievable. So in Section E, the Secretary of each resource department, when necessary, shall make the finding required under Section 101 of the Act, 50 U.S.C., so on and so on. This finding shall be submitted for the President's approval through the Assistant to the President, which, by the way, we don't know who the Assistant to the President is yet. I have yet to see this person named. And National Security Advisor, and the Assistant to the President for Homeland Security and Counterterrorism. Every time I see that word, my blood just literally boils. I mean, that they're literally going to treat everybody that resists this as a terrorist.
You're either with us or you're with the terrorists, Angie.
Exactly right. Upon such approval, the Secretary of the Resource Department that made the finding may use the authority of Section so on and so on, to control the general distribution of any material, including applicable services in the civilian market. Okay? Section 202, determinations, except as provided in Section 201E of this order, which we just read, the authority delegated by Section 201 of this order may be used only to support programs that have been determined in writing as necessary or appropriate to promote the national defense. What does that mean? That means that if a program exists or a business exists that does not promote the national defense, then it will not be supported. Okay? A, by the Secretary of Defense with respect to military production and construction, military assistance to foreign nations, military use of civil transportation, You're talking about military everywhere using civil transportation, okay? Stockpiles managed by the Department of Defense, space, and directly related activities. I'm going to read that again. The authority delegated by Section 201 of this order may be used only to support programs that have been determined in writing as necessary or appropriate to promote the national defense by the Secretary of Defense, we're talking about military control, with respect to military production and construction, military assistance to foreign nations, military use of civil transportation, stockpiles managed by the Department of Defense. That we're talking about stockpiles of all these things that this uh, order describes, all of personal belongings, resources, you name it, that they're going to be stealing from everybody and putting under the control of the military. Uh, Space resources and directly related activities. Okay. B, the Secretary of Energy with respect to energy production and construction, distribution and use, and directly related activities, takeover of everything and anything energy related. If you got solar panels on your barn, on your house, if you happen to have a windmill, you name it, they're taking over control of it and giving it putting it under the Secretary of Energy. He's going to be your
There's
boss.
nobody that this doesn't affect. So when people,
Right.
if somebody is out there saying, "Well, this doesn't affect me because I'm not blah 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 blah," no, this affects you. I don't
Yeah.
care if you breathe air and you
Right.
drink water and you eat food to survive,
This
this
affects
affects
you.
you. Okay, if you live in
Exactly.
the United States anywhere, this affects you.
They're talking about controlling, not just controlling the resources and the production, but also distribution. You know what that means? Rationing, okay? That's what they're talking about here. You will no longer go to the store and buy your groceries. No, you will be rationed food, water, energy, you name it.
Agenda 21.
Worse than that. I mean, this is
Well,
unbelievable.
this is all part of it. This is how you bring in things like that.
Yep.
This is
Right.
it's
Yep.
all connected. It,
Yep.
Joe and I did a show about Agenda 21. We did a podcast on it and two subsequent shows because it was so huge. And we played this clip about this planned city that they had in the future called Plannedopolis, and that was the same thing. They had ration cards basically for certain things like meat. They went to
Right.
the store. They didn't have meat. Most things were like potatoes and
Right.
peas and stuff like that.
Rice,
But yeah, and rice and stuff like that, all
beans,
mixed
right.
together. Some sort of like mash pie or whatever, and that was it. And then like she goes, "Oh, we're not getting meat. He, silly. It's not your birthday."
Right. Yes.
And they had calorie cards basically, like how many calorie, the amount of outdoor activity or whatever they could do
Yep.
because they only had a certain amount of calories that they could get each day,
Right.
and you didn't want to do more stuff than you could to burn more. It's just insane. It's Orwellian, and here you have it in writing, the very basis for things like that to happen.
I mean, that's what we're talking about. And remember, further up, it specified that the Secretary of Agriculture will be in control of you know, um, the acquisition, use of, distribution, employment, everything of anything that's food related, livestock, you name it, plant related, everything. I mean, everything. You will not be able to go outside and gather your own food. It's this bad, really. I'm not exaggerating. I recommend everybody print this out, read it several times, and share it with everybody you know. If they're not interested, make them interested. Okay? Section 203, maximizing domestic energy supplies. Okay? Which the only way to maximize the supplies, according to them, is through rationing. Okay? The authorities of the president under Section 101 specifies the sections are delegated to the Secretary of Commerce, with the exception that the authority to make findings that materials, including equipment, services, and facilities, are critical and essential, as described in specified section, is delegated to the Secretary of Energy. Section 204, chemical and biological warfare. The authority of the President, conferred by Section 104B of the Act, specifies the section, is delegated to the Secretary of Defense. By the way, what that means is the authority of the president under section such and such is delegated to the Secretary of Defense. This means that the Secretary of Defense has presidential authority. Okay. This authority may not be further delegated by the secretary. So the secretary cannot allow anybody under him to give him orders or make decisions. Okay, that means Congress, Senate, anything. Okay,
Why did